And he loves you too.
Yeah.
And he wants to see you healed and free like he freed me of all of this.
That is amazing.
He loves you, and he can set anybody free, and he wants you free.
Hello, everybody. It's me, Julieann Hartman with The Journey, and we are on our final episode with Melanie. There's so much to her, and there's been so many things that we've talked about. So please go to episode 1. This is really important that you do this because it really sets up her whole life for you to hear what has happened and what, not only what all the stuff that the enemy meant for harm, God has just completely turned around, and her life is much different than it was back then, but it's even better than she probably could have ever dreamed of. Yeah. So in our last episode, well, again, we talked about so many things. There was a but in the last episode, which was a cliffhanger. And I would like to get to that cliffhanger because I know people are like, wait, I can't wait for a week for that, but now you get to hear it. So let's hear it.
So I talked about how the love of God, how God took me through teaching me about his love.
Yes.
And because of that, I was set free from videos that played in my head for 38 years of the child abuse.
Right, so that was the rape from her babysitter's children.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not only was I set free from that, but I had a sex addiction and I was hooked to porn.
Okay, so I have a question about that. Because you don't really hear that much with women. You usually hear it with men. Is that the time when you were isolated and that's what made you go look on the deep, dark web? Like, what actually brought that on?
I was a child. I was a teenager, and I found it in my dad's stuff.
Okay.
And so I started watching it and looking at it. Then I would go to stores and buy some of the look at some of the magazines and ladies' nights at bars. And,
but you had already been sexually active because you were being raped since you were very young. So it's almost like I don't even know what you would call it. It was like I was
triggered. That was aroused.
Like you were, yeah. So that just makes me more mad about it because you would have never known that had that not happened. Like you would have never known what that arousal was even like had you not been raped at such an early age in your life. So
I started sexually taking care of myself.
Okay.
At a young age.
Okay.
So I was taking care of my own needs at a young age.
Okay.
And that went all the way through for the 38 years.
Okay. And so I'm sure because you were a Christian at some point in that 38 years, and you probably had a lot of guilt and shame because you knew all the, what you were doing.
I was in Bible college.
You were in Bible college. Yeah. You were in Bible college. And you were doing things that you knew were like, this isn't right, but it's bringing,
and it was torment.
It's a lust of my flesh.
It was torment.
Yeah, it was.
And I tried to stop, and I tried.
Yeah. You know what, we're not strong. And I see, what's interesting about what you just said, I'm so glad you brought this up. And I am so proud of you, Melanie, to be so open. Not a lot of people will do that. Why? Because
it's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing, but we have an image to upkeep, we don't want anybody to know. But you know what though, when you are freeing a lot of women and men right now by this. So you are feeling so bad about what you're doing, but you're not willing to stop. And so you're like, isn't it interesting how you allow yourself to feel all the shame and guilt and condemnation, but you won't stop? That is that flesh that tries to destroy us. It's that atheist on the inside of us that goes against God's word and tries to dig us into such a deep hole that we will think that there's no coming out.
Well, and when I saw the love of God, God showed me that those feelings that I get from taking care of myself aren't real. That's not God's love.
No.
Those weren't what He intended us to feel.
That's so good.
And it's not what God intended.
No.
And it was actually reminding me of the abuse.
Yes.
So I was re-traumatizing myself every single time.
Well, think about it, because
there's
there's
keeping the memories going.
there was no love in the abuse. There was no love in you taking care of yourself. So you never had an basically intercourse when you were loved. So, yeah.
I've never had
Yeah.
a relationship. And I've had 2 partial hysterectomies.
Okay.
So it's complete.
Yeah, I was going to say, it must be complete then.
It's complete.
Okay.
And after the first one, I came out of anesthesia and I looked at the clock and I said, it's complete, it's final. Meaning, and the nurse looked away from me real quick. I meant I can never have a child with somebody I love. And my daughter was 15 by that time, so it was just like,
Yeah, that's heartbreaking.
I don't want my daughter ever to have to feel responsible for raising my child because I had a child when she was older.
Yeah.
I never wanted her to feel responsible
Yeah.
for, I just couldn't do that to my daughter. So, and I was in love with somebody once. And I didn't know it was love because you never felt it before. And we were really good friends at first, and then everybody's just like, why don't you guys get married already? And I would flip out because marriage scared the living bejeebies out of me. I didn't know at that time, So, pornography, all that stuff, that started, so.
Yeah.
So it was hard.
So you were, and then when this was still happening during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're really alone.
Yeah.
And you are isolated.
Yep.
And why not? Because like I said, it's just this darkness that just drives you down, that downward spiral.
Yeah.
Okay, so
April 23rd,
okay,
2020, it's gone. Both. So 2 more miracles. Both are gone.
Okay, so but
God
how
took
did
them away.
But what was like? How did that happen? Because there's a lot of people that are addicted to porn. So I want you to tell me, like, how did that happen? You just woke up one day, you didn't have a desire again?
No, it was at nighttime.
Okay.
And God communicated to me and told me with the videos playing, this is so warped. With the videos playing and remembering the abuse and stuff,
Right.
kind of turned me on. And so therefore I would go take care of myself.
I see.
But it was a reminder and kind of abusing myself for the memories, for what I did as a child.
Isn't that so crazy how our brains work?
For
it's
what
like,
I did as a child.
Yeah, so the memories of you being raped actually became a turn on for you as you would think about it. Yeah, okay.
And then I would go punish myself, basically.
Yeah.
And that's what God showed me.
God.
I was basically punishing myself by doing that, because that wasn't really what intercourse feels like. That's not. And so I was punishing myself, and God says, I'm going to let you go ahead and do that. I'm not condemning you. But I'm telling you that that's not what I've created for you. You're punishing yourself for something you didn't do. You didn't do anything wrong, so you don't need to punish yourself anymore. And my love for you is okay with you, but you don't need to do that anymore.
Right.
And I said, okay. And so I stopped.
And you never did it again?
Nope.
Wow.
Stopped. And so it was the love of God.
Yes, all of
going
this, everything.
All of this.
All of it.
Particularly this. It was going through Corinthians. I always mix it up. But it was going through the love scripture in Corinthians where it says that he's kind and patient and long-suffering and all of that.
Yeah.
He's not rude. He's all of that.
Right.
That's what God took me through, and I got set free.
Wow.
And
Oh my gosh. That is something to celebrate. And I hope that whoever is watching this is able to really take that in. It may not be pornography for you. It may not be alcohol. It may not be drugs, but it might be something else that I don't even know of. That there's just so many different addictions out there that's very, it's just like, it's tormenting, and it is meant to destroy you. That's all it's meant to do. There's no addiction unless you're addicted to Jesus.
Yeah.
That's not going to destroy you. So as I have her list of things, let's go to the next one, which is you have CAC, or CBC, I'm sorry, Charis Bible College. Duh, okay. I see the next thing on your list is Charis Bible College.
Okay.
So tell me about that.
So after I dealt with, when things opened up, in July of 2020, Charis Bible College had a summer family
Bible
conference.
Yeah,
I always
SFBC, yes.
messed up the wording. They had a Bible conference, and for families and stuff when COVID was trying to open up and stuff, and I showed up. I came up here, and I had never stepped foot on that campus because I felt a lot of fear. I felt a lot of shame. I felt a lot of guilt. And I also felt very embarrassed.
Okay. Because of everything you just told me about the addiction and all that stuff.
Well, because of the abuse, because of
all of it.
All the surgeries, all the mental health, all the medications, all...
Yeah, but see, gosh, look how the enemy just puts you into this bondage that so you wouldn't even go up to a place where you could celebrate your freedom, basically.
Yeah, because it's a healing school and all these lies. And so the first night I sat down next to somebody and we started talking, and I was like, I live in Colorado Springs, and he's just like, so you come up here all the time because you live so close? And I said, I've never been up here, and I explained and stuff. And he goes, wow, what a testimony you have of God's strength that he gave you and all that he's gotten you through. And I was just like, yeah, he did. And it broke off all the chains, and I was set free, and I could breathe. And I just, ever since then, for the past 4 years, I can't shut up about all that God set me free from.
Yes, plus you live up at Charis Bible College now.
Yeah, I drive up the mountain constantly.
Yeah. But look at that though, how the enemy and you take responsibility for that too.
Yes.
You and the enemy were trying to keep you from the place where you could just have complete freedom and be in the presence of the Lord and have that love just infilling you daily.
Yes.
Isn't that, so I want you to look at your own life right now, and I want you to see, is there anything in your life, any decisions that you're making that is actually keeping you from going to a place, maybe like Charis Bible College, because of the shame, guilt, and condemnation that you've put on yourself? That was really, really powerful what you just said. Because we are keeping ourselves from doing a lot of things because of how we think, or what we think, what we think of ourselves, basically.
Going into my calling.
Yeah.
It stopped me from stepping out and doing things that I knew God was calling me to do. Mm-hmm. I would go back into doing another education program, another certification, because I went to school for sign language. I went and got a bachelor's degree in psychology. I went and got certified as a health and well-being coach.
Well,
and
with all the crazy stuff that's happened to you, you've done a lot.
Yes.
Meaning that you are very smart.
Yes. So,
oh my gosh.
You know, and now I've enrolled into third year program at Charis Bible College. And
what track are you doing? What track are you doing?
Business school.
That's awesome.
So a friend of mine's just like, okay, Melanie, when are you going to stop being a professional student and actually do something with everything you've done?
Yep. You could help a lot of people. So now let's go to your vocal cords.
Okay.
Oh, we already got that. Or no?
No, we haven't done that.
Okay,
one yet.
let's do the vocal cords and then the dislocated fingers. And you're moving again. And then also we have to talk about the tremors. Yeah.
So I've had another partial hysterectomy, another knee surgery.
Okay.
And I got to a neck surgery. And the neck surgery was a disc replacement, and they paralyzed my vocal cord. And I had a hard time drinking water. I had a hard time breathing. I had a hard time speaking. What irritated the most out of me is I sounded like Minnie Mouse trying to get it out. And people had a hard time hearing me, had a hard time understanding me, and I couldn't do sign language because nobody understood me.
Right.
So after 2 months, I'm not supposed to lift my arms and stuff, but I did do sign language. And I did a song, and it ministered to people, and this one lady was blessed by the song. Just a long story. And it injured me. And it made my whole left side numb and stuff, and I ended up in the emergency room. And the provider there, because at this time it had been 2 years and all 10 of my fingers had been dislocating. I had all 10 fingers dislocated. They had crinkled up because I was so scared of moving them and stuff. And somebody had prayed for me so they were able to actually open up and I was able to actually use them.
Wow.
But they were still very painful. But when I was, and nobody could figure it out, the doctors were saying, oh, it's all in your head because of the pseudo-seizure diagnosis.
Right.
So they gave up on trying to figure it out and stuff. But when I was in the hospital for this vocal cord paralyzation and stuff, the lady's like, I used to work for her at a great job that I had gotten and lost.
Right.
But I was in the hospital in the ER, and I used to work for her. She's like, I'm not allowed to do this, but can I look at your full file and see if I can figure this out? Because I do everything at this one hospital system. So she looked, she figured it out. It had been 2 years. So she figured it out. We have a name for it. We don't have to deal with any more tests. We don't have to deal with, we have a name for it. Now we can come against it.
Okay, what was the name?
It's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome with hypermobility. I don't have the genetic form, but I have the hypermobility form. So what happens is I have elasticity in the tissues and stuff, so the fingers dislocate.
Okay.
Actually, my finger just popped. So I raise my hand and I can dislocate 2 fingers. I can turn on the ignition, fingers dislocate. So I go to sign and fingers dislocate.
Right.
So it's not easy, but it used to be all 10 fingers dislocated all at the same time.
Wow.
So at least that's a little better since I'm not able to work right now. And I'm not using a mouse for 8 hours straight and stuff. So that's where that is. But she was able to finally figure out, because the vocal cord, figure out what was going on. A week later, my vocal cord that was supposed to be paralyzed for 12 months was only paralyzed for 2 months, and it was healed. Now, God didn't paralyze my vocal cord so we can get an answer to my hands. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, since my vocal cord was already paralyzed, He went and used that. Brought me into a situation where I can have a specialist look at my file, figure it out, and say, okay, now, poof. Vocal cord's healed. We have an answer.
Wow.
in my eyes, that's a miracle.
That is a miracle.
The vocal cord being healed was a miracle.
Yes.
But having an answer was a miracle too.
Yeah.
Because we had been trying for 2 years to figure this out. I was called a hypochondriac again because of the seizures.
No, I can totally see that. I probably would have called you that too.
I was frustrated.
Yeah, I know. And you know, that is something that, you know, people will say at times.
Yeah.
You're just a hypochondriac. It's like, are you kidding me? When does this end?
Yeah.
But no one knows what it's like to live in the body of the person that is experiencing all of this.
Yeah.
So our next thing is we have the tremors.
Yeah.
Okay.
At one point, I had been able to get off the psych meds, and I was stable for 8 months.
Okay.
Because I had lost 133 pounds.
Okay.
And I was stable.
So you were 290.
I was 295. I lost 133 pounds because I had dealt with the sugar addiction.
Okay.
And I had a community around me to hold me
Okay.
and help me and stuff. And
Yeah.
that's when I realized I could tell my story and help people.
Yeah.
And I knew my testimony would help people if I told my story.
Right.
Because I told my story in this community, and I was getting private messages of people telling me. One lady in particular told me, "I've never told my husband that I was raped and sexually abused as a child, and I don't know if I could tell my husband." And because I was able to tell my story publicly in this community, I'm going to try to tell my husband, and I feel brave because you told your story.
Right.
That's what brings me to being able to tell in this
story.
form.
Yeah.
Is because I told in this little community.
Yeah.
I'm able to tell this community.
Wow. So now how did the hand tremor start?
So when I was triggered with trauma again.
Okay.
And so I had a little bit of a nervous breakdown.
Okay.
And so they had to medicate me again really fast.
Wow.
Well, then they kind of over-medicated me.
Right.
And this one medication caused tremors.
Okay.
And so for 7 months, I had my jaw moving, and it looked like I was like chewing gum.
Oh, no.
And my hands tremored.
Wow.
And my dad has what's called essential tremors. So he's
Okay.
actually had brain surgery where there's electrodes in and it comes down to his chest and he controls it by an iPod
God.
and stuff. So
Wait.
I've had...
He controls it from an iPod?
Yeah. So I've had kind of tremors for a long time.
Okay.
And then the meds intensified it.
Probably, yes.
Well, after 7 months, I ended up going to Teradez's Cure conference.
Okay.
And I've been going to Healing Now by
At Charis Bible
Charis
College.
Bible College and
Yeah.
stuff, and going everywhere, going there off and on and stuff. And they've watched a lot of this journey, by the way. They've
Yes.
watched a lot of this journey. And they saw the tremors and stuff for the 7 months and everything. I went to the Cure Thursday night.
Right.
Couldn't go back Friday or Saturday, but Friday, I woke up with the tremors, brushing my teeth and stuff. That night, I went to bed without tremors.
Wow.
They were gone, completely gone. I was just like, wait a second, there's no tremor.
Wait, so you went to the Cure, you came home, you brushed your teeth.
The next morning,
The next morning, the tremors are gone.
they were gone. I went like this. My dad, so I'll give you this one story, walked into my father's house, because I'm not living with my parents, walked into my father's house, walked up to my dad, without saying hi or anything. My dad looked at me and he goes, "You don't have tremors." I said, "No, I don't."
Oh, wow. Well, he knows it because he lives it.
He lives it.
Yeah. Wow. See, this is what I love, because a lot of people think that they go, let's say, to a healing service, and it didn't happen that night. So it's like, well, that's it.
Yeah.
Now we got to start over again. But yours is different. It happened the next morning. So just know, God is just always in favor and always wanting to heal, like for you to understand and receive that miracle receive that healing. He's never, ever keeping it from you.
No, he's
ever,
not.
ever, ever. And I think Melanie will be the first one to attest to that. So I
He
just
loves,
oh my God.
the message I want to, from the time that I got saved, I thought all those years he hated me.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about that in the first video.
Yeah,
So go back. I thought he hated me.
right.
He loves me.
Yeah,
And I've communicated that all along. He loves me.
yes,
And he
yeah,
clearly loves me. And he loves you too.
yeah.
And he wants to see you healed and free like he freed me of all of this.
That is amazing.
He loves you, and he can set anybody free, and he wants you free. And he loves. He is love.
Yes.
He is the definition of love.
He is.
He wants
He
a
doesn't have to
relationship.
love because he is love.
He is love.
Yes.
He's the definition. There's 15 attributes of love, and he's all of that. So
Wow.
he's there, and Jesus died on the cross to show
Yes.
you how much he loves
Yeah.
you. And my testimony shows how much he loves us.
Yeah, even when you thought he hated you and all that, you still loved him though. You just were trying to get into the club, right?
Yeah.
And you were afraid, so you stayed out, and it all, and you went down even darker
Yeah.
because of that. And boy, God has got such an incredible plan for you. Thank you so much, Melanie.
Thank you.
Thanks for
letting
coming
me-
on. Yes.
Letting me help.
Yes, and please share these videos with friends and family because this is amazing. This girl's pouring her heart out, and you all need to help us out getting these journeys out to people. So important. I mean, even just like the last couple that we had, just Neil Beam being blind, and it's like, and now he's not, and just all the stuff that has happened to you, and now you're sitting here today, and you're free from all of that. So if you want to be free, start allowing the Lord to love you. When we shut him down and we shut him out, you can't experience that love. And that's what he wants to do, is to love you, love on you, love around you, love everything about you. So thank you guys for watching. This is ending our 6th episode.
Yes.
But she had a lot to tell, and I wanted you to hear all of it. Our 6th episode. Go to healingjourneystoday.com and check out all the stuff we've got going on, which I keep saying we've got great stuff. We always do. If you go to if you're on this YouTube channel, which I'm sure you're watching it, please subscribe. Our subscribers get a newsletter, that's where that newsletter is really important because you get to see where we are, what we're doing, what's going on, testimonies, all that stuff. So thank you so much. We love you, and we'll see you next time on the journey. Bye-bye.